welcome our panelists back up on the stage. Ajit is going to moderate the questions. We're going to take a few minutes of questions and answers. Also, we're going to be having an afterglow at a private residence, so if you're interested in asking them more questions, having some one-on-one time, then you're more than welcome to sign up for the afterglow as well. All right, so we will have the mic here. Okay, I'll go ahead and set up the mic then, and let me take these down. We can go ahead and do Q&A. All right, we'll do about probably 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A.
All right, yeah, so if you guys have questions, I'll start with a question while you guys are coming up, and if you have any, I know it's a really hard topic, so one of the things that, I thought would be important to explain over here is that we're all fathers, talking about fathers' issues and things like that. This does not mean that women don't go through the same thing. It's just that right now these guys are focused on trying to get that 50-50 custody bill, which is the biggest issue that's facing us right now, and that's super important to pass. So by no means are we saying women are not important, or that women who are going through divorce are not facing as crazy things as we've been facing, right? So one of the questions I think is, what are the solutions would be very interesting. We've been trying to pass HB 803 in Texas. If you can comment on, what do you think? I know you have a favorite solution, and so it'll be interesting to hear each one of you just say one quick thing about what's the solutions, and then we'll just jump into the question for all of these. Go ahead, Robert.
My solution is they should just vote it in.
Just vote it in. Your taking time back is a good...
Yeah, well, that will stop false allegations and a bunch of other stuff. But I think as far as shared parenting goes, I think the bill that's written is really good.
Okay.
So my solution would be a little bit different. I think that we need to go back to more of a fault-based system, because sometimes, from my perspective, I think children should have access to both children completely. But I also think that sometimes the implementation of 50-50 could lead to injustice and abuse against a person who was forcefully divorced. So we've talked about this as being a starting step, but the reality is the abuse will still continue. There's just going to be different ways to profit. So I try to go back a little bit further to more of the root cause of it, which is why I talk about the no-fault divorce issue all the time.
Yeah, so obviously 50-50 is something that we are pushing for, and I want to see that get through. But one of the biggest steps I think that would really start to provide some relief is consequences for false allegations. Right now, somebody can make an allegation against you for sexual abuse, physical abuse, anything they want to. And if you can prove that they was making a false allegation, guys, nothing. I mean, we see what happened with Brett Kavanaugh. You can say anything you want to, no consequences, and that's dangerous.
That's crazy that there's literally perjury laws, but nobody gets accused or gets any consequences for perjury.
No.
This doesn't make sense. Robert was saying to me is if you look up perjury, there hasn't been a case of perjury being conviction in, I don't know how many years, 20 years. Melissa, what do you think?
So there was a bill a few years back when they were talking about medical insurance, and they brought in all these experts, and they brought in the leaders in the field to give feedback. We have experts in the field of psychology and social science. We have the peer-reviewed research that shows what's best for kids. We need to start incorporating that, because there's no definition for best interest, but there could be, because we have scientific journals that define what best interest is. So we need to stop shooting from the cup, and we need to bring in the research, the experts, and we need to craft our custody bills based upon that.
Yeah, it was funny because Melissa gave me her slides, and I was up there putting them together. I was like, Melissa, the slide just says best interest as a title, but there's nothing in the slide. And she's like, yeah, that's the point. That's the problem. Good, well, let's take a question.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for coming and being vulnerable the way you are and sharing your stories, because the stories you've shared are very difficult stories. And my heart goes out to you and what you've gone through. What I would like to say, I've been through my own story. I'd say it's completely opposite of what you guys have gone through. And so being a woman in this audience and hearing all of your stories and then statistics about, you know, that women are more abusers. It's really hard to swallow for me. There's some anger there for me because I'm just like you guys have gone through some pretty difficult things. So have I, and so have a lot of my women friends that are in the process of divorce and also going through injustice in the court system with their own families, with dads, unfortunately, that aren't dads that want to be with their kids, but are with their kids and manipulating their kids because they don't want to pay child support. I'm not talking about my own personal situation because I don't think that would be appropriate in this environment. But what I would say is, you know, you talked about, I'm sorry, I don't know all your guys' names, but you could talk about divorce and how going to the court for divorce is not biblical, right? We're supposed to go to our leaders in the church that we're under to resolve conflict between believers. But what I've found is woefully absent, and I'm not talking specifically about my church, I'm talking about the church in general, is that the church leaders do not address those things, and they really shy away from dealing with helping couples go through getting their marriage together and not really addressing sinful behavior in the marriage.
Very, very little training, basically, in the church to address these.
There isn't, and even with the Christian Counseling Center or other Christian counselors, I've seen abuse being completely ignored. So
yeah, I actually went to the Christian Counseling Center myself, and it's like the spectrum is all over the place. Definitely, training is definitely needed. I've approached them and asked them if we can do some training. I said, hey, I want to bring some of these guys and show them some of what's going on in the system. And then they also need to get some kind of real biblical training. I mean, Jeff, you probably can address this a little bit.
Yeah, I'd love to address this. I think that, you know, you mentioned some very good things. First off, we are sinners. So you cannot say that not everybody who goes through divorce is going through it illegitimately. I mean, I've never said that divorce is not a remedy at sometimes it's a protection at the same time. I think that what we can do is help strengthen marriages from the beginning. So what I'd love to see happen would be the churches would actually have a mentorship. You have some people that get married, you know, have the premarital counseling, whatever, but mentor them in the first 1 or 2 years. It's not the counseling a lot of times, it's the showing people how to do something. You can teach communication skills. You have right now a generation of broken people. That's the reality. And if they're not broken, they're probably around a lot of friends that are broken. So how do we take these people that may be committed to Christ, but don't understand godly disciplines, don't understand how to resolve things? I think the church has a very important role to play. I also think that possibly we should be looking at biblical courts. As far as, you know, because if you're not supposed to take your brothers to a civil court for something, you should be able to take them to the elders if there are any wise enough among you.
Well, they shy away from it. I mean, literally in my case, the elders said, we don't want to have anything to do with this.
And that's a shame, because it's like when you talk about the issue of marriage and divorce, who else doesn't talk about it that much? Politicians. Oh, that's a social issue. You know what? It is the fundamental issue of our society. Everything flows downhill from that. I mean, the building block of family is so crucial. And who is better to be the equipper than the church, rightly taught and rightly, you know, embracing the commands of God. Again, every situation is different. I mean, people that go through this, I don't think that a lot of us have any judgment or anything like that. Well, we know it's difficult, whatever it is.
But I think just from my perspective as a woman in the place and the women I know that have gone through what they're going through, it would be really helpful if you had a woman who was, let's say, abused by her husband sitting in your audience. How do you think she might feel when the statistics thrown out there that more women are abusers than men?
Horrible.
How do you think she would feel if you're talking all about supporting the father when she's been through a horrific situation and she's struggling? Maybe she hasn't worked for 17 years because she was the stay-at-home mom, and the dad is a deadbeat and doesn't decide he's not going to work, and she's got the children, but can't support her children. Now she's got to go find job skills, and she's not, and she gets into, let's say she gets into a job, and she's making good money. Now she's got to not ask for child support because she doesn't want to have to now give spousal support to her husband. So those are some of the situations. I know you guys are seeing these opposites, right? But those are some of the situations. And I think it would be really nice if you put a front as we're supporting the whole family. We're supporting the men who are abused. We're supporting the women who are abused. Because this is a problem of marriage. This is a problem of sin. And we can't go to a secular place to get the answers. The courts are not going to give us the answers we want. They're going to destroy our families, correct? So it's a bigger problem than that. And what about what is happening with sexual immorality and pornography, and how is that taking down dads? So if we're going to support dads in the role that aren't abusing, let's also deal with the dads that are in addiction, because everybody's got a pocket prostitute in their pants, right? That phone is instant pornography for everyone, right? It's becoming something that's destroying families, and that needs to be dealt with, you know. And who do we get to start working on those issues as well, along with what you're doing to support the family?
So here's, let me answer this. The reason that this is a fatherless conference is because I hear what you're saying, but over 80% of the time it is the men who are falling victim to this. So, let me tell you, as a woman taking this position, I get a lot of feedback, negative feedback mostly from women. They say, how could you? They call me a traitor. I can play you voicemails in my email right now that I wouldn't play because I respect this is the house of God. This is coming at me. Father's rights is mother's rights. Just like what he said when he started a conference, he said, love and fairness is not pie. More for me doesn't mean less for you. If we equal equalize the playing field for dads, it also helps moms. Because moms have sole custody over 80% of the time. They're the ones that have the kids over 80% of the time. Women make more money with shared parenting. They're freed up to have careers, to get education, if dads are bearing part of this responsibility, first of all. So secondly, I hear you say to me, you know, this as a woman sitting in the crowd, you felt a little bit of anger. Well, and I understand, I've been through that. So my mother specifically used food as a weapon. If we asked to see our father, and it was a Friday, she wouldn't feed us all weekend until that following Monday, right? So my experience doesn't take away from yours, but you have to understand your experience does not take away from mine, and my experience is what gives me the perspective that I have to sit with, fight against, with these men right here. And my perspective has given me the knowledge to be the most supportive, godly wife that I can to my husband and be a good mother to my children. So this is not a tug of war between what about moms and what about dads. The reason we're focusing on dads is first and foremost their individual experiences, but secondly because statistically, dads are the ones most of the time, and society does not focus on that. You look at domestic violence shelters. How many domestic violence shelters for men are there? Crickets, they don't exist. When I went to look for a grant, when I went to look for
domestic violence and how the percentage of men that are abused according along with women.
Yeah, so
70%.
Yeah.
Men.
It's like,
According to Harvard, 70% of the time it happens to men.
It's a Harvard study.
And it was deleted 4 days later, but
And
you
the
can
funny
still
part is-
find the study.
Even the 70%, right, that number, the women, I think it was Jennifer Harmon, she said that the women who are claiming abuse, 63% of those women are more violent, and they're the ones who abuse their children.
so how do you determine as a lawyer that's going to support a man who's claiming that, hey, my wife is saying that I did this abusive behavior? How do you make that determine that he's not narcissistic and telling you a lie, or he's actually telling you the truth? How do you know that?
So the good thing about Alabama is we're able to record. When my clients retain, they all get a little digital recorder. It looks like a jump drive. You would never see its recording device. They record every interaction they have with their ex. They record every pickup, every drop-off, every conversation. They screenshot every text message. What I have found is when the men come in, really they just want to be dads, right? And I tell them, listen, if these women are lying, they get bold. Some of them get bold, and they say, oh really, you want more of what I got? How about I take you back to court? We have proven, I'm telling you, about 70% of the time these allegations to be false because the women will either admit they were false, they will have additional threats, they will say, Judge, I'm scared of him, I'm scared he's going to kill me, yet she's banging on his door. Let me in, right? If you're so afraid, what are you doing over there? I wasn't over there, Judge. That's a lie, but we got security cameras. Unfortunately, it comes down to documentation because you look at family court. Family court is a he said, she said. Judge says, he did this. He said, no, I didn't. She said this. No, I didn't. The judge is looking back and forth. So my strategy is to take the he said, she said off the table with documentation, with recording, with witnesses. They don't do exchanges alone. They have somebody with them. Because that's how we prove it. Because unfortunately, once you become empowered by the courts, you want to hold on to that power. I can tell you how the case is going to go based upon who the attorney is. There's some attorneys who, every single case, they file protection from abuse orders against every single client that I've ever had with them. That's how they work. So to get back to your original question, how do we prove it? We prove it because, honestly, women get cocky, they threaten, they lie, and we prove it through the recordings and through witnesses.
Yeah, I mean, in my case, I proved it to make a difference. I think that the worst disservice, actually we have like 2 more minutes, so we might want to go to the next question. The worst disservice to abused women is women who are lying in court.
Hey, could I just add real quick, talking about, a mom sitting back and hearing about this. That's how dads feel every single day when we turn on the TV. You ever watch sitcoms? Now, dad's always the bumbling idiot. He don't know how to take care of his kids. He's the one abandoning. Society's done a good job of painting that narrative against him. We need dad talk. We need these guys to stand up and show what's going on. And that's what we're going to do. We've been all over this country. We're going to take it all over the world. Most of these guys are fighting tooth and nail to be inside their children's lives. And when you hear a father fighting for equality, let's cheer him on. A lot of times we'll get willing mothers too. We know. Us fighting for equality is fighting for your equality. Nothing more, not superiority.
Definitely. Go ahead, one question, and we gotta shut down because this place is gonna close on us.
Yeah, thanks for the panel for coming. Jeff Younger. 3 days ago, the director for the Texas Department of Child Welfare Services replied to the governor's inquiry, and the director of that department stated that gender transition surgery is considered child abuse in Texas. So, which one of you who live in Texas in that county is going to go file a complaint against Ann Georgelas as well as care team for James Younger? Because first of all, if the mother has been contemplating gender transition surgery, that should be sufficient for a determination that she is an unfit parent. And Jeff should be able to go back to court and seek a new custody order.
Well, that judge should be recused from the case because she also considered it. And the lawyer.
Good point.
So there's another issue with that too, is that the standard that they put out was a weak standard because it said physical surgery.
Right, and State Rep Slayton has written a follow-up letter.
Slayton is great. He's wonderful, but they did not address the issue of the chemicals beforehand, nor the social transitioning. So right now, Jeff is in a pretty tough situation because, what they're looking at, this is child abuse. Okay.
Right, well, let me also just interject though, because of that letter that was issued, which is basically characterizing the gender transition surgery on minors as child abuse. That's actually a great thing because the expert witnesses that Ann Georgelas had on the table actually are from our state, from UCSF, Diane Aronsat. And she has advocated gender transition for children as young as 3. She's been treating my son. I'll leave it there. Maybe I can talk to you guys after.
I can't even, and guys, this is why that case is so important. I've said this is one of the most important cases since Roe v. Wade. If this goes through, you're going to see it all across the United States of America. If we as the church, we as people, don't get up and start fighting this with our families, I'm afraid of what's going to be next.
You have time for one more?
Yeah, just make a quick comment, and then we got to.
One, I want to thank all of you for your efforts in doing what you do, not getting anybody back to I want to say, Robert, tonight, your story touched me a lot because I didn't go through 43 allegations. I went through 2 allegations for a 6-year stretch. And I have seen my kids less than 1 month's worth of hours in 19 years. That's how long my case has been going on. I've been to 73 hearings with 15 judges, 3 commissioners. I've been hauled into court 11 times by warrant, and I've been in jail 3 times for violating the restraining order because I went to see my kid. And the only question I say, and I like to ask, where do we go when the judges won't even obey the laws? Because I work in the system, I'm a badge-carrying court officer, I've got Westlaw under any number of attorneys that I know. My paper is rock solid, and that judge said, Obama-appointed Judge William Warwick III said she had absolute immunity to violate my civil rights.
You come and join
Grassroots.
like Dad Talk. You come and she's talked to the other advocates, stuff like that. And what a lot of people don't understand about the false allegations, you can go to jail or be imprisoned with one. One.
Oh yeah.
They just
And
hit you until they get one.
Robert,
It happens.
I was cleared by CPS and the Sheriff's Department in 4 days. They walked me in a room ready to tell me about all these charges that, you know, what I did.
Yeah.
And I walked in on the 8-foot table and I covered the table with photographs.
Yeah.
And I handed them a big pack and I said, ask me about any one of them. Because that's for the last 4 months worth of visits in the park for 2 hours at a pop.
Well, I'm sorry you're going through that, but this is why we advocate and we do what we do in different states, changing laws and lobby to change all of these things.
Agreed. Thank you so much. We got to change these laws. They need to be accountable to the law and accountable to the truth.
You should talk to Mark because he has this court watcher thing, and they.
Kids Matter is the one who sponsored my video. Mark is taking good care of me.
Yeah, court watchers
Thank you
are
so
very
much.
important.
Thank you, man. Thank you for being here.
One quick last one.
Thank you so much for being here. My question is just on the revenue.
You might need to get closer.
Okay, thank you. Just my question is on the revenue. Can you recommend good resources for the revenue that family courts generate for the states and the federal?
Yeah, I'll send you a webpage. I actually looked it up before I got here to look at how much money, including the foster system and the child support collections. It's in California. It's almost $2 billion.
That's what I can share on social.
Yeah.
That's the same thing to do.
It's insane.
Thank
I
you.
was shocked. I was like, there's something wrong over here. No, I looked through all, they have it itemized, and you can look through the itemized. I'll send you the link. You can look it up for yourself. It's insane. All right. Well, I'll let
Thank you, everybody.
All right, big round of applause for Ajit and the panel. Ajit for bringing the panel. And what's not always an exciting topic. Well, I know Ajit found this to be a very important topic, and so he convinced us we need to bring this panel out. So I hope you guys all found it informative. Don't forget though that throughout all the problems, Jesus still reigns, and that's where we're ultimately going to find our hope and our salvation and serving others. And everybody has a story, and we've got to forge on ahead, move forward. We've got to change things where we can. We've got to serve others and put our faith in Jesus Christ, because without Him, life is meaningless and empty. And we've got to think eternal and look eternal.